Okay. Good morning, Adam. Welcome to Real Estate Talks. How you
Thanks
are
for
doing this
having
morning?
me. Great. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you this morning. And let's talk about real estate. But first, tell me about yourself, because a lot of people, we are on the same network, and a lot of people know you from the seven-figure flipping. But some people in my network doesn't know you. So tell me about yourself.
Okay. I'm married with 2 kids, been married for 17 years. I'm a active duty Marine. I run Blackjack Real Estate, it's my company. Partner with Bill Allen. We've been doing, 50 to 200 deals a year for a long time. And we wholesale, we flip, I also have a rental company, buy rentals in Milwaukee, primarily wholesale and flip in Tennessee and in Florida. I do some coaching with seven-figure flipping, and I just love real estate and I love people. So
Right. Um, but nothing, you didn't start at a seven-figure flipping, right? How did you decide to invest in real estate or start in real estate? What was your first step?
yeah, I've always been interested for a long time. I just never really got started. I was probably interested but busy for about eight to 10 years. And then when I got interested and started taking action was really in 2017. I bought a house on a VA loan, lived there for a year, and then rented it out for 3 years. I actually moved back into it. That property, I basically had $0 into it, and it gained $150,000 in equity over the last couple of years, maybe 200,000. And then in 2018, I just got really obsessive. I mean, I read 100 books, listened to all the podcasts. 2019, I bought a turnkey rental up in Milwaukee. 2020, I bought another one. I invested cash into syndications. I did some private lending. And then I realized two things. The two things that really struck home for me and how you can win getting real estate and building a real estate portfolio or doing real estate deals was through two skill sets. And that was the ability to raise private capital, use other people's money, and the ability to find great deals, discounted off market deals. So that led me to Flip Hacking Live in 2020, probably the greatest real estate event there is. I mean, I've been to all of them, and that one by far is my favorite because it gave me a bunch of tactics. So I went to this event. If you remember, it was COVID. So it was all virtual, which allowed me to go. And I was just mind blown by the tactics of marketing and finding deals. And I knew I had to really expedite my learning process on that. So I joined Seven Figure Flipping Mastermind. And that was in October of 2020. It took me until April of 2021 to get my first deal by myself. And after that, the following 6 weeks, 9 more deals closed, over $100,000. And then since then, over 100 deals closed.
Okay, now I see that the first property that you bought, it was for yourself, right? And
Yeah.
then you invested off like in another market, right? Milwaukee. How you
Yeah.
decided to do that?
I think that's unique. I just saw the first property that I've transacted for the first time ever last week. Over 100 deals, never seen any of them. I'm a virtual investor by nature of being active duty military. So I learned how to leverage a team of people and then combine that with my skill sets. So how did I pick my markets? So for
Yeah,
rental,
because a lot of people, in my where I am, seem to not understand how they can do remote investing. They have this block mindset. So how you
yeah.
decided to invest remotely on your
What?
second property?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things. Your goals matter. So for me at the time, I was investing for cash flow. So when we talk about buying rentals, I was investing for cash flow. And if you know, when you start to buy rentals or even apartments, you make money in four ways. You make money through cash flow, depreciation on your taxes, appreciation, and debt pay down. Your renters paying down your debt. And I like to invest for cash flow first because it's the most resilient to market changes. Rents don't change that much. So I looked at two major factors. The first major factor was is it a good place to live? Are people moving there or are they leaving there? Doesn't have to be the best place, doesn't have to be Tampa, Florida, as an example, or Las Vegas, where people move to. It just has to show that people are moving there and they're not leaving there. Okay. The second factor I looked at was the price to rent ratio. In order for it to cash flow, everybody's heard the 1% rule or the 2% rule, which means the amount of rent it gets in a month is at least 1% of the purchase price. So, as an example, you're buying a house for $100,000, you'd like it to rent for at least $1,000. And I personally found my market to be there wasn't a ton of people moving there, but they were moving there, which meant people weren't moving away. But the price to rent ratio was really, really good, very favorable. So it was a big cash flow market, Midwest market cash flow.
Now, after that second property, did you stay on that market or you moved to another market?
So for rentals, I stayed into that one market where I had an ecosystem of property management, real estate agents, construction, and all that. But for the active real estate side, where I started doing flipping and wholesaling and other things, I went to markets that had basically higher top end prices, bigger spreads on the deals, and that's in Florida and Tennessee.
Okay. And now, how did you decide to do the wholesale, the virtual wholesale? Because you were doing rentals. What made you decide to do another kind of investment in real estate, like wholesaling?
Yeah, and that for me, that was goes back to one of the first two things you need to be able to do, which is raise money and find off market deals. The niche of real estate that is the absolute best when it comes to finding off market deals, I don't care if it's commercial or residential, is the wholesalers. Wholesalers know how to target houses that make sense to sell at a discount, and they know how to market to them, and then they know how to have conversations with them. So that's why that industry intrigued me. And it's not just wholesalers, there are flippers who are also doing marketing and doing the same thing. But the bottom line was when I realized I needed to find deeper discount properties, then I had to learn how to do marketing and sales, which I joined Seven Figure Flipping for. And then, the rest was history.
What are the first steps that you put in process to for your wholesaling business, like the virtual? Did you hire a BA? What are because everybody talks about systems. Oh, let's create systems, but what are the systems?
Yeah. Um, there's a lot of systems that can be put into place, but I think it starts with having a game plan and a runway. Okay, so first you have to know what your market is, where you're going to do marketing at, and why you're going to do marketing there, and who your potential clients are. So defining your avatar, right? Are these people that are in pre foreclosure? Are these people who have low credit scores? Are they tax delinquent people? People who would like to trade equity for ease of transaction because you're helping them in some kind of way. One misnomer in the community is, we convince people to sell their house at a discount. We don't. It just doesn't ever happen that way. It's always somebody has a lot going on in their life and they need out of that property and they need to be out of that property fast typically. Okay, so defining your avatar, what you're going to go after. The other thing I'd say to do is you can either spend money or you can spend time when it comes to marketing, but you have to do one or the other. Okay. So I can define that avatar, go to a data source like List Source or PropStream or Batchleads, you name it. There's a zillion places you can get data. Go find the data that fits my avatar. And then I have to somehow get in front of them to have conversations. You can do it through direct mail. You can do it through Google Ads. You can do it through cold calling. You can do it through. So then I've got to pick a marketing channel. decide how I'm going to get to those people. And now I have to say, over 6 months, how much can I budget for money and time? Okay, so let's say I can budget $500 a month and I want to do direct mail as an example. Then I would take those avatars and that list and I would build it out so that I'm hitting these people once every 30 to 45 days with direct mail. And I would budget that out and have a game plan. And I would plan to do it for 6 months, no matter the result, and really have, because you can't do marketing one time and know if it's working. You have to do it over 4 to 6 months to get the data back to know if it's going to work. So you have to be willing to spend that money and potentially not get it back, as an example. Or you got to be willing to get on the phones and start cold calling these people yourself. So you can do it very, very cheap. You can cold call people yourself. You can do like guerrilla marketing on social media and Facebook and all these other places. Craigslist. You can do Craigslist bandit signs. There's a lot of options. So before you're going to build out systems, you have to have. You're starting from zero. You have to get in there and get your hands dirty a little bit. Have a game plan. See what's going to work for you and your company, and then start doing it. And then once you start taking action and have consistent daily activity, that's when you see what the process is like. And then you have to apply leverage to it. It's not just about systems, it's about systems and processes are mentioned together and they're forged in the activity. So as you do these things, you see all the activities associated with everything along the entire pipeline. And then you can apply leverage to it, which is maybe bringing in a virtual assistant, which is exactly what I did. I went from one person working 60 hours a week to bringing in a virtual assistant to help me through hired trained VA, Val Borrega's company. She helped me outsource that. And then we were able to basically take some of those activities I was doing that weren't directly related to money making. They were more like administrative and even some cold calling, but I needed to be talking to sellers and making an offer. So one VA gets put on that. You give them some action items, and you make sure they're consistently executing those day over day, and then you just keep doing that until you've created a system for your own company. Because every company is going to be a little different.
Okay. Now, how do you balance? Because I know you work, right? You're still working, right? On the
Yes.
yes. How do you balance all of your businesses? Now you have a bigger business with seven flipping, family time. What is your ingredient for success, or what do you do during a day? What does a day look like for?
Yeah. So the word balance, I don't know. I don't think I've really wrapped my head around that word, but what I would tell you is that if your desire to succeed outweighs the cost to do it, and you're willing to sacrifice and take consistent action, then you're going to do that. Um, and that doesn't mean I don't spend time with my family or, watch a football game on a Saturday, because I do those things. But I eat, sleep, and breathe what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I love doing it. And the vision is so big that I'm excited about it every day, even in light of, maybe working 12 to 16 hours in a day if I have to.
Now, some investors also, the ones that are doing buy and hold, are afraid to do other things, thinking that they're gonna follow the next shiny object. So they refrain to do like wholesaling or flipping. What do you recommend? Because you started as a buy and hold investor, and now you're doing wholesaling, and then you also invest passively on syndications, right? What are your
Yeah.
tips? What do you recommend?
Okay, so it's not that I'm doing wholesaling and I'm doing flipping and I'm doing buy and holds. It's that I'm a real estate investor and I use different exit strategies. The model is the same. I'm still looking for properties. And the only difference is, instead of saying I'll only take a good deal if it is a buy and hold, I've built a system that, well, if it's not a good deal for me, can I wholesale it to another investor and still make money? and still serve that client and still serve that investor. Like the whole point here is to be able to serve as many people as possible. Sometimes that's us serving tenants as buy and hold investors or sellers who need to sell a rental, or it's us serving another investor with a wholesale deal, or it's us serving a client where their house needs some work and they want to get out of it, and we're going to come in and fix it up. So it's not about am I doing this or that? I'm a real estate investor and I'm maximizing my exit strategies. It's all vertically integrated, it's all the same. None of it is, all the activities are interrelated. So I'm not doing wildly different things.
That will apply also for people that is in the commercial world and against the residential, because some people say don't buy just single families, do commercial.
Yeah, I think that it does apply in multiple. I think commercial and residential are the activities you do to that investment, that asset, are very similar. Commercials obviously got a level of scalability. So if I wanted to create a massive amount of cash flow, and it's not easy, it's very hard in commercial. Commercial's very slow. If you do find a deal, you might be working on that deal for 6 or 8 months just to close one deal. And at the end of 8 months, that deal could fall out. And so it's a different niche. It's a different exit. You're focusing on finding a different thing instead of sending mail to people's houses. You're trying to contact brokers and or find mom and pop commercial owners. It is different. Those activities, I would say, are separate.
Okay. So let's talk about the market. What with all this talking about recession, that we are in a recession, next year is gonna be like wars on real estate. What do you
Yeah.
think? What are your predictions?
I think the market's really exciting right now because it's so if you were to come in and start doing these activities in 2020, you would have came into the most competitive market that we've ever seen. We had hedge funds buying up a bunch of residential property. You had everybody and their sister trying to do wholesaling or flipping. So it was very competitive, but the market was going up. So it was really, really interesting, right? Because you almost couldn't lose on a deal. Like you could have bought anything and it would have been okay, unless you bought it in, say, July of 2022. Then you would be in trouble.
Yeah.
With that said, you saw a lot of the industry going, I can't wait for the market to correct. I'm so excited about finding good deals. The problem now is people are scared and feared. There's a ton of fear in the market, a lot of anxiety in the market. But the reality is you got to understand the data. So what happened in 2022 was we saw the Fed raise the Fed fund rate 3/4 of 75 basis points multiple times, which took the interest rates. There was a correlation to the mortgage rates, which went from historically low bottom twos all the way up to 7%. And if you think about this as who your avatar is, let's say you're flipping houses or wholesaling. If I'm wholesaling to a flipper, he's got to fix that house up and sell it to an end buyer. Well, for every 1% in mortgage rate increase, so when you go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 11% of the buyers there's an 11% change in the price point for buying power. So at 2%, if you could buy $100,000 house based on your credit profile, at 3%, you can only buy an $89,000 house, right? So now you start to price in buyers out. So now the demand is diminishing. In this, there's a couple things I'm looking at. When the Fed raises the fund rate, when Jerome Powell gets on TV and says, I'm raising it 50 basis points, which he just did 2 weeks ago or a week ago, the mortgage rates are already predicting that and baked in. So you don't see the mortgage rates actually change before he comes out and makes that announcement. There's not a direct causation on that. There is correlation, but not a direct causation. What we've seen over the past, I don't know, 2 months was the mortgage rates kind of stabilized. They hit 7 and just above 7, and now they're back down into the low sixes. He just raised the rates and they're still in the low sixes. So my prediction is that the mortgage rates will settle in 2023 into the mid fives. However, the economy, not just the real estate market, but the economy is going to go spin a bit into a recession. There's a couple indicators that I looked at or I'm looking at, one of which is the credit, the debt that people are carrying. So, people's credit card debt just a few months ago nationally was like at 3,000 a person, and now it's at 8,000 a person.
Wow.
So quantitative easing from the government where they're just sending checks out has stopped. People's savings now are starting to get bitten into, and a lot of people are putting things on credit cards. So it's raising their personal debt, which is also going to make them a less credit worthy buyer. So I do think there's a lot of indicators that are showing us going into a recession. There's a million variables that relate to this, but just based on what I'm seeing, I think the mortgage rates for the real estate industry are going to settle in the mid fives. I think we've kind of hit a even point for supply and demand. Not that it is even, but we've kind of settled in where we're about where we're going to be, and we'll see mortgage rates come down another percent. So I feel good about the real estate market. I don't feel good about the consumer market. I feel I'm fairly confident, at least from what I'm looking at, that quite a few recession indicators there. So that's going to hurt the economy for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I see that too. Now, how are you protecting your business for this, recession for next year?
That's such a great question. That's something I'm thinking about daily. I'm talking with my partner Bill Allen about, and even recently he was down in Grant Cardone's office. So you're talking about a billionaire, multiple millionaires, all talking about how do we create this unbreakable kind of business? How do we fortify it? And I certainly don't have all the answers. There's a couple things.
Hmm.
One is looking at market share. So in real estate, we're actually diving into the retail space as well. So we saw there's a huge gap for retail agents, and we're bringing value to that space. So if you know agents and they want to work with us, we're about to change the game there.
Did you
The
get
other
your
thing we're
license?
doing,
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you
yes,
get your license?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Okay. I'm thinking about getting my
absolutely.
license too.
Yeah, you should, and you should be able to have, like I said earlier, right? It's about having multiple. You're an investor. You want
Yes.
multiple exit strategies. You need multiple ways you can make money off of your activity.
I
Same
love that.
activity, different ways to make money.
I love that way you look at that. I love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And in the past, as an investor, it was the narrative was that um, the agent side is a huge distraction. Don't waste your time on that. But what I saw as I went into the agent world to understand why agents weren't able to monetize some of our retail leads. We've actually since fixed that. We have over 7 listings right now that with partner agents. And what I just found was there's a huge gap there. Like agents don't get value brought to them. They sign up with a sponsor or a brokerage. The brokerage takes money from them and doesn't really provide a ton in return. They don't provide training and education. They don't provide administrative support. They don't teach agents how to become investors.
Oh,
They don't teach agents how to build wealth. All things that we're going to bring to this marketplace because it's just, and we don't want to take anything from agents. That's the thing. That's the thing I saw was people were signing up with a team or a brokerage, and they're taking big splits and cuts, and the value proposition is so low that I would talk to agents. I couldn't understand why they were working with that team or why they had signed up under that sponsor who doesn't do anything for them. So that's one thing. So we'll put that agent thing aside. If anybody wants to learn more, or if you want to talk about it, Christina, we can talk
yeah.
about it. We're
That
going
would
to
be
change that.
great because I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I heard that once you sign with a brokerage, you're done. I don't think you can change, or maybe I'm mistaken, but I
You
think
can change. The big thing is oh, because there's two kinds of brokerages, maybe more, but primarily two kinds. There's these national, what I would consider like an internet-based brokerage. That's your Uh, that can be your Keller Williams. Sometimes they're kind of a mix, from what I can tell. That's like EXP, Real LPT, these other brokerages. And I love those brokerages personally because it gives you the autonomy and the freedom to build your own thing. And then there's like the old school brick and mortar stuff, your Century 21s, your Remax, that kind of thing. Those are kind of dinosaurs. Those are going to die. Those are not going to survive. You can change between brokerages, but what happens is, say you come to like an EXP and you sign up. What happens is you get signed up under a sponsor. So it's like Bill Allen sponsors you, Christina, and then he's your sponsor in that brokerage forever. If he doesn't bring value to you, you kind of you wasted who you signed up with.
Yes.
Instead, you should make sure you sign up under somebody who you know is going to bring value to you and help you reach your goals, which is the most important thing that I see people not doing. Okay, the other thing is I'm following the guys who've been doing it for a while and have built massive businesses. We've got this, you saw the Grant Cardone thing we're doing,
Yes.
so we're going to do his Unbreakable Business Challenge completely free. I'll be at it. It's January 24th, I think, through the 28th, virtual. So I'm going to learn from people like that who have a multi-billion dollar company, and understanding what they're doing at the highest level and how it can correlate to us, some of us at the smaller businesses, or some of us who are even solopreneurs. So I think that's really important too, is just always be careful who you learn from. I know Grant himself, he's very divisive. People either hate him or love him. But the facts of the matter are is he has a really strong and incredible business,
Hmm.
and you can't really dispute that. So I'm personally going to go to this challenge and see what I can glean from that. But there's all kinds of people out there doing education. You just have to be very careful who you're learning from. If they're not, um, if they don't have the type of business, or they're not at the level of success you're looking for, then you should probably be wary of those people.
Yes. No, and I already registered for the Unbreakable. I think the dates are, I'm looking at it right now so people know. It's December
January
23rd. No,
24th.
January 23rd. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
23rd. Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's the 23rd. Um, I'm looking at it, but I can't find the dates. But yeah, I think the 23rd to the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I know you also got you Bill Allen is in the mastermind with Russell Brunson. So yeah, you guys follow a lot of big names people, and I always follow with you too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is it. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you for being here today, this morning, Friday, and thank you for sharing a lot of things about real estate. It's gonna help a lot of people. I really appreciate it.
Um, you know me, Christina, I'm a giver. Let me see if I got this book right here, The Go Giver. It's like second, this is like one of the most important and most influential books. I'm like, my goal from the beginning has always been, so many people help me. My mission is to help others too. So I'm always talking. I always talk to people in my DMs. I'm always, if anybody ever asks me, I try to help where I can. So I'm here to help. You can find me on social media or whatever. And if you ever need anything, always reach out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.